Picture this. It's 9 p.m. on a Saturday. You finally sat down on the couch. Maybe you have a drink in your hand. You're halfway through a movie you've been trying to watch for literally weeks. And then
your phone buzzes.
Exactly. You glance down, and it's the client for that massive kitchen remodel you're running. And what do they want? They want to discuss the subtle visual differences between 3 shades of white subway tile at 9 p.m. on a Saturday.
Oh, man. You pause the movie. You probably let out this huge sigh. And, well, you answer the text.
You answer it. But we need to be incredibly honest about what is actually happening in that moment.
Yeah.
You do not answer. Because choosing between eggshell and alabaster tiles is some kind of genuine emergency. You answer out of fear.
100%.
So welcome to today's deep dive. I am talking directly to you, the construction business owner. That underlying fear, the fear of losing a job, of a client getting angry, of a bad review online, it's running your life.
It really is. It dictates everything.
Yeah. And today, our mission is to help you reclaim your nights and weekends without losing a single drop of business. To do this, we're unpacking a comprehensive stack of sources, specifically utilizing Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report to completely rebuild how you operate.
Because, look, the construction industry basically treats exhaustion like a prerequisite for success. Like, it's normal.
Right. I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of vibe.
Exactly. And today, we're dismantling that. We're exploring the specific mindset shifts, the exact conversational scripts, and the operational systems required to build a boundary-driven, highly profitable business. We really have to move past this outdated concept that you must be a hostage to your smartphone just to provide excellent service.
We should probably start with the psychology of why we failed to set boundaries in the first place. Because there is this deeply ingrained myth in service industries that 24/7 availability is like the ultimate proof of dedication. You hear contractors say it all the time, right? Like, oh, I'm always there for my clients.
They say it proudly.
Yeah, they wear like a badge of honor.
But it's a fundamental misunderstanding of value. I mean, the root fear driving that behavior is this belief that if you aren't constantly on call, the client will just assume you're neglecting their project and they'll take their money elsewhere. But operating out of that fear subjects you to a phenomenon known as burnout math.
Burnout math. Okay, Let's break down the mechanics of that. Because it's not just about the time spent typing a response, is it?
Not at all. Burnout math is the hidden, compounding physiological and psychological cost of that single, non-urgent Sunday night text.
Right.
When you get that message about the tile samples, typing your response might literally take 60 seconds. But neurologically, your brain is violently yanked out of its recovery state.
Oh, totally. The adrenaline hits.
Yes. Your cortisol levels spike. You immediately start calculating the ripple effects. You think about the supplier's inventory, the backorder issues you had last month, the drywall schedule for next week. That 60-second text just triggered a 2-hour mental workday.
Wow. 2 hours of just spinning your wheels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never actually return to a resting baseline. So when you repeat that cycle every single weekend, the compounding degradation of your focus, your decision-making abilities, and honestly, your family life, it's catastrophic.
It's like leaving your F-250 idling in the driveway all weekend.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. You aren't actually driving anywhere. You aren't getting any work done, but you are still burning gas. You're wearing down the engine. And when Monday morning finally hits, your tank is already half empty. You are completely exhausted before the week even begins.
That is exactly the mechanism at play here. And it brings us to a concept that completely subverts how most contractors think about customer service. It's called the boundary respect paradox.
The boundary respect paradox.
It feels completely counterintuitive, but clients actually respect contractors more when those contractors rigorously protect their own time.
We have to look at the numbers on this because it just challenges the entire industry narrative. I mean, Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report actually shows that contractors who establish and enforce clear communication boundaries experience higher overall client satisfaction metrics than the contractors who offer that 24/7 access.
Which is wild, right? But the psychology behind that data point is fascinating. Boundaries create predictability. Anxiety in a client usually stems from the unknown.
Make sense?
If a client doesn't know when you work, They don't know when you'll reply, which means they're constantly waiting in this state of low-level suspense. But when you dictate professional hours, you remove the suspense.
They know the rules of the game?
Exactly. They know exactly how and when communication happens. It signals that you are a professional running a tight, disciplined ship, not just some disorganized amateur scrambling to keep everybody happy.
It makes complete sense if you look at other high-end industries. Like, think about dining. If you're available 24/7, you're treating your communication like a 24-hour fast food drive-thru. Anyone can just roll up at 2 a.m. and demand service.
Right. Give me my burger.
Yeah. But people don't treat a Michelin star restaurant that way. You respect the restaurant's reservation system and their specific seating times because you perceive their high value. Restriction creates authority.
That's a powerful phrase. Restriction creates authority.
But let's be real for a second and look at the messy reality of construction. Because when a client is spending, say, 150 grand on a custom kitchen, they're handing over a massive portion of their life savings. Their house is torn apart, it's covered in plastic dust barriers. Their stress is at an 11.
Oh, easily an 11.
They feel entitled to your time.
Yeah.
So if you hit them with strict boundaries, aren't they going to feel like they're just a number on a spreadsheet? How do you decouple availability from caring in their mind?
You decouple them by explicitly framing the boundary as the very mechanism that protects their investment.
Okay, how so?
Well, you do not wait until the 9 p.m. Saturday text to establish the rule. That's a rookie mistake. You bake it into the DNA of the relationship from day one. It starts in the contract, it's a dedicated slide in the onboarding presentation, and you speak it out loud in the kickoff meeting.
Give me an example. What do you actually say?
You say something along the lines of, because your project requires immense precision and hyper-focused attention from my team, we do not monitor project communications on nights or weekends. This ensures that when we are on your site Monday morning, we are sharp, fully rested, and operating at our highest capacity.
Oh, I like that.
Right. And then you finish with, therefore, all communication is routed through our project portal between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Notice the architecture of that script, though. You aren't asking for permission to take the weekend off.
Never ask for permission for that.
Right. You are telling them that your weekend rest is a strategic requirement for their project's success. You frame your boundary as a benefit to them.
Yes, you align your boundary with their goal. But, human nature being what it is, they will eventually test the boundary.
Oh, of course they will.
The anxious client will inevitably text your personal phone on a Saturday. And when they do, you need a highly specific response protocol. You can't ignore them because silence breeds more anxiety, but you absolutely cannot solve the problem because that rewards the boundary violation.
You're training them that texting on Saturday works.
Exactly.
So what is the exact response when that Saturday text comes through?
You use a gentle but firm reset. You reply, "Hi, Sarah. I received your note about the subway tile. I want to make sure I have the exact material specifications and lead times in front of me so I can give you the most accurate answer. I will review this first thing Monday morning and follow up with you by 9 a.m.
That is incredibly precise. Let's look at why that works. First, I received your note. You validate that they were heard, which lowers their immediate panic.
All right, they just want to know you got it.
Exactly. Second, I want to make sure I have the exact specifications. You elevate professionalism over speed. You're basically telling them that a fast answer on a Saturday is a sloppy answer.
Yep.
And finally, I will review this Monday and follow up by 9 a.m. You close the loop by setting a definitive timeline.
You are managing their expectations without sacrificing your Saturday. But, and this is key, you also need the infrastructure to support this.
What do you mean?
You have to stop giving out your personal cell phone number. You implement dedicated business lines and project management portals that naturally separate urgent from non-urgent requests, equipped with, automated after-hours responders.
But what happens when the client's internal anxiety is so high that they genuinely believe their delayed tile sample is a 4-alarm fire? We all know that client who will just call 6 times in a row, trying to completely bypass your automated systems.
Yeah, the serial caller. This is where the emergency protocol becomes critical. You define, in writing, what constitutes an emergency before a single hammer swings. A burst pipe flooding the newly installed hardwood floors. That is a structural emergency, called the dedicated emergency line.
Right.
A sudden, panicked change of heart about the living room paint color because they saw something on Pinterest at midnight. That is a non-urgent design change. So when they call you in a panic about the paint, you do not absorb their emotional state. You act as the calm, steady guide.
You don't match their freak out.
Never. You say, I completely understand your concern about the paint color. Fortunately, this does not impact our critical path for this weekend's work. Let's put a pin in this and tackle it together on Monday morning.
You refuse to catch the anxiety they're throwing at you. Now, establishing these rules for a brand new client is one thing. You have a clean slate. But I guarantee the people listening right now have a handful of current clients who are already deeply accustomed to texting them from the lighting aisle at Home Depot on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. The boundary is already gone.
Yeah. And course correcting a client mid-project feels dangerous. How do you transition an existing client away from 24/7 VIP access without making them feel like they're suddenly being, demoted?
It requires strategic framing. You never make the change about the client's behavior. You don't say, you text me too much. You frame it entirely around the evolution and improvement of your business.
Oh, interesting.
You send an official update positioned as a company-wide upgrade. You communicate something like, as we move into the next phase of our production schedule this quarter, we are upgrading our communication systems to serve you better and keep your project running flawlessly. To ensure nothing gets lost in text messages, all project communication moving forward will be routed through our new dedicated client portal, monitored by our team during business hours.
That is brilliant. You sell it as an enhancement. Congratulations, we are elevating our operational standards, which means I will no longer be trading emojis with you at midnight.
Precisely. You're institutionalizing your boundaries. And a critical component of institutionalizing boundaries is building a team buffer.
A team buffer.
Yes. You utilize your staff as a communication layer to insulate your deep work time and your personal time from direct, unfiltered client access.
So what you're describing is essentially a triage system, like in an emergency room.
Exactly like that.
The triage nurse doesn't prevent the patient from receiving medical care. They assess the severity of the wound, they route the problem to the correct department, and most importantly, they protect the surgeon's time. If the surgeon is out in the waiting room answering questions about a sprained ankle, they cannot be in the operating room performing a bypass.
The owner of the construction company is the surgeon. If you are fielding texts about paint swatches, you are not steering the financial health of your company. The client still feels incredibly taken care of because they receive a fast, professional response from your project manager or office staff, but your personal time remains protected.
But we have to address the elephant in the room here. The whole team buffer concept falls apart if your team is already working 60-hour weeks.
Yeah, that's the catch.
I know construction owners are listening right now and thinking, a triage system sounds great, but my project managers are drowning in RFIs, permit applications, and daily logs. They don't have time to hold a client's hand. You cannot put a boundary around a fundamentally broken workflow. We have to talk about fixing the data bottleneck first.
And that is the exact systemic failure that prevents companies from scaling. Manual administrative work causes the exact fatigue that leads to boundary collapse.
It's all connected.
Right. When a project manager is exhausted from spending 3 hours hunting through email threads for a specific plumbing submittal, they don't have the mental bandwidth to manage a client's anxiety.
No, of course not.
The easiest path of least resistance is to just let the client text the owner directly, bypassing the broken system entirely.
If the systems don't work, the boundaries won't hold.
Exactly. And Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report highlights that construction leadership desperately needs better visibility into risk, budget, and project performance across multiple jobs just to be able to scale effectively. You cannot manage client boundaries if you cannot instantly access your own project data.
So let's talk about the mechanics of how AI actually solves this administrative bloat. Because instead of just, listing out a dozen features, let's look at how a platform like Smart Business Automator handles a real-world scenario. Let's look at their document intelligence and predictive insights.
Sure. The core function of document intelligence is acting like a hyper-efficient digital librarian that has already read and memorized every blueprint, specification book, and email associated with your project.
Oh.
It extracts the necessary data and allows your team to search records using natural language.
Let's run a hypothetical scenario to see how this works in practice. Let's say it's Thursday at 4 p.m. A client texts the project manager. They saw a kitchen on Instagram and suddenly want to scrap the standard ceramic subway tile and go with a large format imported Italian marble.
A classic late-stage curveball.
Right. In a traditional manual system, what happens next? The project manager has to call the supplier to check the lead time on the marble.
Assuming the supplier even answers at 4 p.m.
True. Then they have to open the schedule to see if the specialized tile setter is even available 3 weeks from now when the marble arrives, instead of next Tuesday. They have to manually calculate the cost difference for the material and the specialized labor, and then draft a formal change order. That is easily 3 to 4 hours of frantic administrative work.
And it usually ends up ruining the project manager's Friday night. It creates total operational chaos.
Absolute.
But let's look at that exact same scenario running through an AI-integrated workflow.
Okay, how does that look?
The project manager receives the request. Instead of spending hours cross-referencing files, they just query the system. The document intelligence instantly pulls the original ceramic tile specifications and the allocated budget.
Instantly.
Then, the predictive insights engine evaluates the new marble request. It automatically cross-references the typical procurement lead time for imported marble against your current critical path.
Right, it calculates the schedule impact automatically.
Yes. The system flags that delaying the tile installation will subsequently push the plumbing trim out back by 2 weeks, which impacts the final inspection date.
That is insane.
And then the AI generates a draft change order that includes the revised budget, the specific material variance, and the exact timeline impact.
This is what was historically a 4-hour weekend-ruining scramble becomes, a 5-minute review process?
Basically, yeah. The project manager verifies the AI's draft, hits send, and a comprehensive, highly professional change order is in the client's inbox by 4:15 p.m.
And think about the psychological impact that has on the client. They asked a really complex question and received a detailed, data-backed answer almost immediately. They feel completely secure in your team's competence.
Exactly. They do not need to panic text the owner on Saturday because all of their anxiety was resolved professionally on Thursday afternoon.
The AI does the heavy lifting, which gives your staff the actual time and mental energy to be that team buffer we talked about.
You've got it.
And because the team buffer is functioning perfectly, your personal phone stays quiet on the weekend. It is a completely integrated ecosystem.
You are replacing the anxiety of manual coordination with automated clarity. And that operational clarity is the foundation that allows you to confidently hold your boundaries. You no longer operate out of the fear of making a mistake.
This just changes the entire trajectory of a construction business. I mean, we started by looking at the fear of losing clients just by enforcing basic limits. But we've seen that the boundary respect paradox is very real.
Very real.
Setting professional limits does not lose you clients. It establishes your authority. By implementing clear communication scripts from day one, establishing rigid emergency protocols, utilizing your staff as a strategic triage layer, and offloading those soul-crushing administrative bottlenecks to AI automation, you can scale your operations without sacrificing your sanity. You can finally take your weekends back.
But arriving at that point raises one final, deeper philosophical question for everyone listening, and it's something you really need to chew on after this deep dive ends.
Which of that?
If you successfully automate your administrative workflows and you establish perfect, impenetrable communication boundaries with your clients, what are you actually going to do with the silence? Seriously, are you so deeply addicted to the constant adrenaline-fueled crisis mode of the construction industry that you'll need to fundamentally relearn how to simply be on a Saturday morning?
Are you addicted to the chaos? That is a profound question, and one that requires some serious self-reflection. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If this conversation resonated with you, and if it helped you see a tangible path out of the 227 grind, please subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast platform. Leave us a rating and a review so other construction professionals can find this information and reclaim their own weekends. Share this conversation with your colleagues or team members who desperately need to hear it. And finally, to learn more about the specific operational tools and systems we discussed today, visit smartbusinessautomator.com. We will see you next time.